Today, the annual solemnity of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross thankfully falls on a Sunday, as it does now and then. And so this important annual feast is celebrated more widely than usual, especially among us who are accustomed to only coming to Masses on Sunday. Its origins, as I explained in this week's bulletin, are rooted in the commemoration of the discovery of what is believed to be the true cross on which Jesus Christ died. That discovery made by Helena, the mother of the Emperor Constantine, who, at her request and with his permission and his generous support, set out for the Holy Land in the early 4th century to try to uncover the places associated with the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Why? To set up suitably designed memorials so that these sites could be visited and venerated by future pilgrims. Relying primarily on what was the lived memory of the local Christian community of Jerusalem at the time, the places of Christ's passion, death, and resurrection were located and uncovered under a pagan temple complex built by the Emperor Hadrian in the 2nd century with the explicit intention of hiding these places and ultimately hoping to stamp out Christian devotion to them. But indeed, a church was then ultimately built over what was the tomb of Jesus Christ, and a shrine placed atop a rocky outcrop in an ancient abandoned rock quarry known as Golgotha, or Skull Place, called so perhaps not only because it became for the cruel Romans an ideal place for public executions by crucifixion, but also perhaps because it had inadvertently been quarried in such a way before it was abandoned that it bore some resemblance to a human skull, much like the old man in the mountain in New Hampshire that had been sculpted by nature to resemble an elderly man's face. So commemorating these discoveries and the dedication of the church built to house the Holy Sepulchre and to establish a shrine on Calvary, this feast on the 14th of September has been established now for nearly 1,700 years. Yet it isn't just about the discovery of a place which you and I can, and if we can, should visit until this very day, thanks to the Empress Helena. But it's about remembering the paradox at the very core of our Christian faith. Indeed, the truth that in Christ's death, a new path to new life has been opened because the horrors of the cross led to the glory of the resurrection. Indeed, we call this feast variably the triumph of the Holy Cross or the exaltation of the Holy Cross. And as we do, we might pause to consider how incongruous that might actually sound. Indeed, can you imagine celebrating a feast of the exaltation of the gallows, the exaltation of the guillotine, or the gas chamber, or the electric chair? It would sound so very odd and just not right, because these are all ways, among others, that human beings have devised to end the lives of their brothers and sisters for reasons that they may claim as just in an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth type of morality, which, though that might sound fair to the ears of many, we should remember was explicitly rejected by Jesus Christ himself, and you can find it in the Gospels, who in many ways reminds us that two wrongs never do equal a right. More commonly, those with the power they mistakenly claim to possess to do so will end the lives of others for reasons that, no matter how righteous they may sound to their own ears, end up being terribly unjust, because ultimately it is only God who, as its author, has the power to give life and to take life. Thus, the actual reasons for depriving others of life are often simply ideological, vengeful, or just plain cruel. This past week, along with fellow pilgrims on a journey to Poland, when in Krakow we visited the nearby remnants of Auschwitz, which is an experience as profound as it is deeply disturbing. For this site of a former concentration and extermination camp stands forever as stark historical evidence of the largest known intentional and systematic murder of human beings, some 11 million in total, 6 million of them Jewish people, killed by their fellow human beings. And for those who survived, it stands as a symbol of unjust, cruel, and abusive incarceration, which manifests the evil at work when others are unfairly demonized as dangerous and so dehumanized such that their lives, which are their most precious possession, are considered absolutely worthless. It is a very sobering reality, one that after it was uncovered at the end of the Second World War, was met with the response, never again. But sadly, is happening right now as Russians continue an unjust aggression against Ukrainians, as Hamas slaughtered 1,200 Israeli citizens in their kibbutzes, and Israel has now taken the lives of over 60,000 Palestinians in retaliation, yet most of them non-combatants, indeed the majority of them being women and children. And those not killed by bombs are being slowly starved to death. This is man's inhumanity to man, writ large before us on our television screens each and every day. And make no mistake about it, wherever such assaults on human life and dignity occur, no matter who perpetrates them, for whatever supposed purpose or cause, this is clearly all the evidence we need to know who is very much at work, if not in charge of this world. Indeed, it is the Prince of Lies and the powers of darkness. Yet in the midst of this, we dare to stand up and sing, "Lift high the cross." Not that the cross itself, an instrument devised to create the most public and humiliating and torturously slow and cruel death, was or is worthy of any honor in and of itself, except that the most loving, the most innocent, the most obedient to God's law man who has ever lived was indeed subjected to its cruelty and its horror. And although it seemed to have completely defeated him, and with him all goodness, as evil did momentarily win, but he rose from death, and so not only declared, but fully demonstrated God's ultimate victory over all human evil. Indeed, as the divine yet fully human Son of God, Jesus was triumphant over the powers of darkness. Thus, if we incorporate ourselves into his body, as he invites us to do at our baptism, if by faith and communion with him in the Eucharist and the sacraments, we remain in him as he has asked us to do, then we too can live in hope of sharing in his ultimate victory over all sin and death itself. This is the truth that consoled those who have faced a martyr's death across the centuries. So in the face of all the present darkness that seems to overshadow the world of our own day, as it has in every day and age of human history, sadly, let us look to Christ as our one great hope and our only light as we sing, "Lift high the cross," trusting that in spite of what we see, that by his cross and resurrection, Jesus has redeemed our